from today's mass shooting at Port Arthur is now more than 30. The standoff remains with the gunman holed up in a house with 3 hostages.
The situation remains tense at the Port Arthur site. Police surrounding the bed and breakfast lodge where the gunman has 3 people hostage. At a media conference in Hobart a short time ago, police made this appeal.
Why he's done this, no one knows, but if he's done it to make some point in life, he's made that point. Now's the time to come out and avoid any more bloodshed.
The nightmare unfolded around 2:30 this afternoon. A lone gunman armed with a high-powered rifle entered the Port Arthur historic site and began firing randomly, gunning down tourists and setting fire to buildings. Police believe his hostages are still alive.
I hope they're still alive. We've got no reason to believe they're not alive, but we haven't had contact with them in the last hour or so.
Police say the identity of the gunman remains a mystery and are yet to determine a motive behind today's senseless slaughter.
No, we don't understand why it's happened. That is one of the major issues confronting the police at the moment, to determine why it's occurred.
The man is communicating to a police negotiator and has made several demands, which police are now considering.
Andrew Fisher is near the scene. Andrew, do we have a definitive death toll yet?
No, Celina, it appears that the count is going up. As police search through the Port Arthur historic site, they're finding more bodies. It stands at 30 at the present time, and they don't really know if it's going to go up any further or not. But they are searching the site. They treat it as a major crime scene, of course, and it has been closed off while they examine it. There's teams of police down there, and they're telling us that there's no way that anybody will be allowed anywhere near it until, well, not even late tomorrow.
And what about the identity of the gunman?
It remains a mystery. His identity and his motive for this are a mystery. Police down here are really quite uncertain as to who it is. They're pursuing a number of lines of inquiry, but they can't give us a definitive answer as if they actually know who he is.
And do you know anything about the identity of the hostages that he has?
No, we don't. All we're hearing from the police is that they have confirmed that he does have hostages. They were unsure at one stage, but the negotiators are talking with the man down at the cottage, which is surrounded by the Army and police special weapons people.
And what about the present situation there? Has there been any more fire?
We understand there hasn't been any more fires, but just what's happening down there is a bit of a mystery. We're about 4 kilometres away from the cottage, which is about 4 kilometres north of Port Arthur itself, and everybody is being kept well away. Most of the visitors, there was a lot of people at Port Arthur today, at least 4 or 5 coach loads, plus all the fly drive tourists that are normally there, would be there on any kind of Sundays. Those people have been talked to by police, witnesses have been spoken to, and there's now trauma counselling going on at the Rugby Police Academy for anybody who wants it.
Andrew Fisher, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much. A Sydney couple holidaying in Tasmania captured this afternoon's shooting on video. They were only 80 metres from the cafeteria where the gunman opened fire.
Rob and Karen Atkins were 80 metres from the kiosk when the shooting started.
These people up here. It was really weird because some people were running up the hill hysterical. Other people were actually just dawdling around, just still looking at the ruins, and others were laughing about it as if it was some sort of joke. Because, you know, being a historic site, it was quite feasible that this was, part of the shows.
But park officials knew it was not, and moved tourists into protection.
We were actually all herded into a house, and the doors were barricaded.
I can't fit any more people. Upstairs? No, please.
Don't stay here, Caroline.
It was just complete chaos because nobody knew what had happened.
People were panicking?
Oh, yes, yeah. Some people were hysterical, other people were quite jovial about it.
2 or 3 hours later, when they were allowed out of the cottage, the full horror was apparent.
Ferries of ambulances arrived, and there was like a revolving, there were 2 choppers in action, like just revolving from the field back to Hobart. Even then, we weren't sure whether people had been killed. We could certainly see that people were injured. There were a number of people that were heavily bandaged with, there's a lot of blood around.
Just minutes before the shooting, Rob and Karen Atkins had been considering lunch at the kiosk. Tonight, they're counting their lucky stars.
A bit numb, yeah. It's all very surreal, actually. Not sure how to feel.
I feel terribly lucky and terribly sad for the people that lost their lives, and it's still hard to believe, actually, how close we were to being in the wrong place. And I'm just quite tired, actually. It's been a long day.
I'll be back with more news in an hour.